Hello and welcome and welcome and hello. Hello and welcome. Welcome and hello. Bienvenidos a todos. Hello and welcome. Welcome and hello. And let me add for good measure. Hello and welcome. Thank you for joining me on an extremely special edition of Friday edition. A capper. Un poco más, guys. Oh my god, I did it already. I have to leave. I need water. I forgot to get water. Okay, everybody panic. Everybody panic. Everybody panic. Okay, I'm back. I'm back. Oh, thank goodness. You guys were hoping I wasn't going to come back and you can go off and do something useful, something productive, but no, no. I've caught you in my web, my tangled web of idiocy, and here you are doomed to spend a lifetime of time wasted on YouTube listening to some big fat moron talk on about SoFi. But now that we have a little agua, let's talk SoFi. SoFi Technologies Incorporated, ticker symbol SOFI, guys. Hello and welcome and hello to my latecomers. It's un poco mas, the show where we give you just a little bit more, guys. I know too many SoFi videos. We were like, for a while, people were saying, you're not making enough SoFi videos. Now it's like, okay, every day again. Yep, big idiot. Like, we get it. You like SoFi. Um, the reason I keep harping on this, I don't think people actually do get it. That's my contention. Particularly bank analysts, lender analysts, consumer. You can't put baby in a box, okay? And Anthony Noto is baby, and SoFi is baby, and you can't put baby in a corner, and you can't put baby in a box, and you can't put Danny in a box because he don't fit. But my point is, they're trying to define SoFi as what it is today, what it's selling today. Put some growth multiple on that. Put some small incremental, increase in net interest margins on that. And then, because the one that really kind of grinds my gears is this little commentary by this young lady, Nancy Byerly. I guess she's a certified financial analyst or whatever, but this was right at the top of the it's been parked at the top of the Yahoo SoFi, community deal. So that's the comments. And obviously a lot of people, retail investors hang out on Yahoo and they go in the chat and stuff. I know stock puts and stuff too, but it's kind of, and it's sort of, to me, it's piling on the FUD parade to, put at the top featured community analysis in this article avoid that. And if you read this article, which I did, the analysis is sound, the numbers are sound, but it's just the conclusions are erroneous and short-sighted. There's no vision, there's no understanding, there's no depth, there's no critical thinking, there's nothing. Like the depth of I just, if you don't see any more than what's right on the surface with this company by this point, you're not, I don't think, qualified or credible to provide a price, because her analysis led her to believe that if they execute perfectly and grow as much as they're going to grow, that the stock will be worth 15 to 20 in 2028. So 3 years more of perfect execution, SoFi could be worth as much as $20. And that's pinned on the top of Yahoo. Now, what's wrong with that? Well, everything. But the fundamental misunderstanding is what SoFi is and what SoFi is building and where is the value. Now, just to get right to it, the huge, flaw in the analysis is they assume there's nothing new. And they're introducing new stuff. Their platform is built to introduce new stuff. They also don't understand the value of the membership itself and why Anthony Noto is cultivating such a high value membership. Because I don't care if you're Robinhood or SoFi or Affirm or Chase, the landscape is moving very, very quickly. And now you have AI in the picture. It's moving even faster. It's moving at light speed. all these data centers they're building and everything else, agentic, this is all going to affect financial services, banking, as much as it affects anything. So the world we see today is not the world we're going to see in 2028, much less 2030, 2035, 2040, which I believe is the time frame Noto is building this company for. A lot of things these analysts, they're just comparing, SoFi to banks or SoFi to Robinhood. Watch what happens if the shit hits the fan. Watch who holds up better, SoFi or these other fintechs or these other neobanks or these other, tiny wing ticket scalper companies. It's going to be SoFi. SoFi is disciplined. SoFi is more diversified. SoFi, and the other thing she's harping on is the fact that, they're, as far as their revenue lines, fee-based revenue is still not 50%, and they're still, lending is their revenue and their profit engine. And there's truth to that, but she's saying maybe it'll be 60% by 2028. It's certainly trending in the right direction. But it just ignores the fact that SoFi had to do an order of operations, and SoFi had to survive after their very lifeblood was pulled away from them in the pandemic student loan, cancellation deal. So she doesn't even address that in the narrative that everyone was trying to put this company out of business just a few years ago. There's also no adequate discussion of the growth trajectory. None whatsoever. Guys, 5 years from now, I don't know exactly, what the landscape is going to look like. But I think Noto has a long-term vision where he said, we can go back in later and add in all this other stuff these other people do, but they're never going to be able to go back in and make themselves a bedrock bank and lender. And by the way, nobody's pricing in crypto. And I'm not saying it's going to be a major, revenue or profit center, but people aren't pricing in crypto. People aren't pricing in options. I know they're pricing it into the share price. You could say that, but they haven't really priced it into the guidance because it's not really there yet. What about business banking? They talked about this a little bit like a year ago, how they're talking to the feds about adding business banking. So they've been in discussions about that for at least, probably 2 years. I can't remember exactly when they mentioned it, but I'm old enough where I can't remember it. So it's got to be a couple quarters, right? Am I right? But it's just, they just ignore what the company, and why does Noto have such high standards? Why do they hold back on making loans? Why don't they just pump the membership, get as many members as they can, sell as much as they can? Because at times like this, when things start to look shaky, their credit risk will be less than any of their competitors because they had more discipline in who they made their own loans to. Anybody questionable, anybody they didn't make a loan to, they laid them off to somebody else. And it's just astonishing to me that these analysts are like, well, it's bad that they built this bank first, so they have a lower cost of capital, so they have more flexibility, so they're in complete control of their own destiny, vertically and horizontally in every other direction. And they act like taking the time and resources to do that. So I think over time, over the long haul, and there was an article like Motley, and I don't live or die by Motley Fool, but if you look at their track record, it's quite good. I mean, over the decades, they've been doing this a long, long time, and there's a reason they're still there, and there's a reason a lot of people swear by them. Now, I'm not one of those people, but I look at all resources, and I try to look at a very diverse, broad viewpoint. And they had an article on there by one of their analysts, which was like, why is SoFi, in 10 years will be worth more than Hood and some other companies? Essentially, it's talking about SoFi is a sure thing building a more stable long-term business model. It's just there to generate profits. The value is this high quality membership. Now, I've talked a lot about the analogy of like surface water. Why choose this sector? Because it's giant, it's unlimited, it's massive. Your total addressable market is almost infinite. You guys want to see the short interest? Your total addressable market is almost infinite, but you can capture that market in a new way, more efficiently. But it's there. You don't have to reinvent the wheel, and you don't have to blaze a trail. You take an existing market. So it's much safer. It's much less speculative by its nature. And they're like, well, but you're not going to have any margins because lending, you're going to have great margins with SoFi. I mean, it's already showing up. I don't know why people think they can't hit better than that 20% number over time. And then there's no real adequate discussion of the fact that they weren't even selling $1 billion in 2021 when they went public. And this year in 2025, they're going to sell over $3 billion. She's comparing their multiple to JP Morgan. Like, well, JP Morgan trades at 16 times earnings. SoFi trades at 90 times earnings. Forward or whatever. It's for a company growing at this rate that's this young. It's not apples to oranges. It's apples to elephants. And Jamie Dimon is not a genius. That's been certified by Frank Reynolds. Does not have donkey brains, but he's definitely not a genius. So there's that. And file that nugget away. But what I mean by cultivating casino whales is like, what is Noto doing strategically? He's going after golf. He's going after sports. He's going after young people with higher education who own their own business. That's why I think business banking is going to come sooner than later. And I think that could be a really nice revenue source, because with business banking, you have business lending, and they're already in that somewhat, but getting into it directly would be just outstanding, just excellent. Excellent. Very good. Excellent. Excellent. Yeah, I met him at a service station. He gave me a stock tip. Losing a lot of money. Very good. Excellent. Good guy. Yeah. Anyway, so what they're doing is they're cultivating, like if you start a casino, okay, and what you want in a casino are the high dollar players, because that's where you make all the money. They're doing that in Las Vegas right now. People are like, Las Vegas is dead. Las Vegas is dead. And the casino bosses are like, we don't want those deadbeats here anyway. We don't want these rubes from the flyover states coming out here, trying to eat an $8 buffet, get a $6 steak, gamble the free, $5 slot play, take in a 5-year-old Cirque show on a discount, $10 ticket with the Las Vegas fun book. Basically, they're like, Las Vegas is so expensive. And they're like, yeah, we built all these giant, hotels and stuff. It costs a lot of money. I mean, Ma and Pa Kettle coming out here, rubbing 2 coupons together, trying to make a fire, if you know what I mean. Know what I mean? The old Groupon Poupon crowd, that's not who they're looking for out in Vegas. For people who are cashing checks and breaking necks, limos and prostitutes, Well, the old Peruvian wham wham. But anyway, they banged this thing all the way back down to 2662. Oh, it's depressing. Not really. But they really, put this thing in this channel since, end of August. It kind of flipped from below 25 to above 25. And then, it's sort of retesticled this level repeatedly. Let's look at maybe, I don't know, pull out like a 3-month. Pull out the old 3-month. So yeah, it kind of popped up here. You see that. And then, came back, rejected at 30. It was rejected at 30 again. So you've established, they're trying to establish, like, again, putting baby in the box, putting baby in the corner. I think it's corner, but I always say put baby in the box. I don't know why. Maybe what's in the box? What's in the box? What's in the box? Oh, what's in the box? I'm Brad Pitt. What's in the box? No, don't go over there. I don't even want to get into doing my Morgan Freeman. I can't stop once I start. Don't understand everything, so I'll get into doing Fat Sam's, the whole thing. It's just not good. Have some respect for yourself, boy. Anyway, yeah, I was buying SoFi again. I just can't help myself. Another interesting thing is they pushed down it. The low of the day is 2601. So they made 3 runs at 26 and never hit it, which was pretty odd because they always push down below. So, I mean, does that mean a bull actually stepped in and put a floor under the stock finally? I mean, because they've been stopping out, day traders and, the shoe shine boys, the old truck stop all-stars, old bowling alley restroom hustlers. All those types have been stopped out over and over again wherever they want. I mean, I think what's happening, and this is just, idle speculation from, tales of a third grade fat middle-aged nothing, but be that as it may, still has a certain amount of humorous value, I hope, but certainly not financial advice, certainly not life advice. If your life coach is fat, you'd ask questions like, do you have a thyroid disorder? You just have a low metabolism? There's a phenomenon out in LA where people are constantly offering life coaching for like your couch to sleep on. Like people that are essentially homeless, they're, living in their vehicle or they're cutting. I don't have anything against, homeless people or anything like that. I don't want to be a dick, but at least any more than I already am. But how are you offering services as a life coach when you know, don't even have a roof over your head? Like, don't you think you should coach yourself up? Like life coach yourself a little bit before you start working on me and my weight problem, my ADD, my catcher's mitt like skin and wrinkles. Anyway, I forget what I was talking about. But yeah, they failed to hit the stop at 25.99 today. So that was just an interesting change. I don't know if that signifies anything. A lot of times when they kind of deny those stops, to me it puts a floor under and they're looking to push higher. Now, problem is there's a lot of real estate up here now in this channel. I mean, you can do a hell of a lot of buying, and you could go up almost 15% and not even get back to 30. So I don't know what 10% is 260, blah, blah, blah. You guys can do the math. I was told there would be no math. I don't have that many fingers. The ones I have are too fat. So anyway, I don't know what the point of this show was today, but Noto is cultivating casino whales. Like when you're a new casino, you can't just compete with the big boys who already have, all their big players they've had for years and they have relationships with the host and they like certain rooms, they like the restaurants, they know the guy, they have everything. If you're new, like what do? You can't just immediately compete with the, Bellagio or Wynn, who's been there for a couple decades, or like JP. But that's what's happening to Fontainebleau right now. They spent 3.7 billion and the place is a ghost town. They're catering to the high end player. It doesn't work like that because everything is relationship based. And Anthony Noto understands, like, I'm not going to be able to go out and grab this, 60, 70-year-old billionaires and get them to stick their life savings in SoFi Invest. The guy is nothing if not realistic. And here they go bashing the stock off. Let's see if they get 2650. I'm sure they will. These bastards, these rat bastards. Anyway, but I don't think like institutions are buying, hedge funds are buying. I don't think retail is selling. So how do they keep pushing the stock down? Well, number one is shorting. They've been shorting a lot the last couple of days. And number two is, I think, just dumping. Like a lot of, some of these turds are just willing to take profits and just dump here in order to, kill options and everything. But the options, I don't know, because I think options are not as heavy as they once were on this stock, because I don't think that many people are betting for big moves up from, like the 28 level. And more people are probably betting for big moves down. I know the put call ratio doesn't signify that, but it's not enough just to look at the put call ratio. You have to look a little bit deeper and see what are the strikes, where is the money actually coming in, to see what level, the smart money actually thinks the stock is going to land on at that particular OPEX. It's like you can't just glance at the chart and see, because a lot of YouTubers do that. They're just like, options are positive, the flow is this, but that doesn't tell you like short term, long term, just out of the money, way out of the money, in the money, under the mattress, 2 knuckles deep. What are we talking about here? So I don't know. But if you're cultivating casino whales, what do? You're essentially looking for the up and comers. You're essentially, instead of grabbing a guy right now who's able to gamble millions and millions of dollars on a trip, you get somebody who you think will be able to do that in the future, and you cultivate a relationship with them now, and you try to make that relationship last for a lifetime. That's how you make the most money over the life of that customer. And I just don't think other people get it. Like in 5 years, is Robinhood going to be the number one trader with retail investors? It wasn't 5 years ago. Who was it? Like, I don't even know if Webull was around 5 years ago, but it's Robinhood is, a new, sort of a new phenomenon to just dominate, retail trading. And I have a feeling that will be a lot less, permanent than SoFi's customers. I think somebody else will offer something new. Somebody else will offer something different. You know, they'll get a certain preferred position. They'll get there first, whatever that might be. Maybe it'll even be one of the bigger banks will offer something, or they'll have an offshoot, sort of a, you know, an independent company where they try to go out and compete and sort of like scoop these new fintechs and stuff. But if you're cultivating casino whales, you have a very long time horizon. It's not about whether they win or lose on one trip. They want you to win. So you come back over and over again because, ultimately, statistics rule, and ultimately the casino advantage comes into play as long as you have, enough repetitions so that the math sort of balances out and stuff. I have no idea what I'm talking about. Basically, my contention is there is a tremendous amount of value in this extremely high quality membership. And that membership is now growing very, very quickly. So they're like, okay, last quarter was 8 cents. They're expecting 8 cents again. Okay, so the 850,000 members they added last quarter aren't doing anything, and they're not going to be doing anything this quarter. And the million members that SoFi is going to add this quarter, it's just they're not understanding the growth, I don't think. And then they're not understanding the growth in the context of the incremental margins. Noto's talked a lot about this, that we're not going to have any additional costs, hardly any additional costs, if we add more and more members. I mean, Chase is out there talking about building more and more community branches. And God bless, I own a lot of Chase. Chase is a great, company. They make a ton of money. And they're grown their share price tremendously recently. I mean, not quite as much as SoFi, but, they're not really considered a growth stock, though. You could argue, Microsoft wasn't supposed to be either. They're growing like 15%. Market doesn't like it. Mr. Market doesn't like it. Mr. Market doesn't like it. Mr. Market's bald. He does everything for the charitable trust. Looks like the man on the moon. It's like Jay Leno's little brother went bald and did meth or something. I don't know. Anyway, if I had to hire a casino host, I would hire Anthony Noto, because I believe he, understands building the long-term relationships are how you cultivate future whales, and future whales are what's going to drive a tremendous amount of free cash flow for SoFi if you're patient, if you have the vision, if you understand that they are more disciplined than these other companies. They have higher credit standards. And, when it's a good times, when it's a gold rush, bull rush, everybody's like, why don't you lend more? Put your foot on the gas. I was one of the people saying that because I'm a big fat idiot. And Anthony Noto's like, nope, restraint, discipline, quality, eye on the prize, long term. He's like, there could be storm clouds on the horizon. You can't even see them yet. They're so far away. But he's like, these loans are going, 2 years, 3 years. He's just, he's the smartest man in the room. I'm not going to second guess, because he's like, now you'd have a bunch more. If you lowered the credit quality standards that the loans they were going to hold on their own books, you'd be in a lot more trouble than you're in. And old Nancy, whatever her name was, she talks about, deterioration in credit, that they had sold some of their worst performing loans. And if they hadn't sold those loans, there would be slightly more, deterioration on their loan book in terms of defaults and delinquencies, et cetera. Which is, nobody's trying to say SoFi is immune from economic downturns and SoFi is immune from people not paying back their debt. Of course they're not. But you do everything you can by making those loans to the very best clients that you can and being as selective as possible and using all the tools at your disposal, or not just their credit score, but what is their actual financial situation, their actual monthly cash flow. Because that's how SoFi is using AI in their lending decisions. But they don't SoFi doesn't pump a lot with like AI and we're going into crypto and we're going to be doing tokens, stable, all these stuff. I mean, they can pump. Oh, that's all coming in the future. SoFi can do everything in the future that these other high flyers are doing. The fact that they're a bank is not detrimental, it's advantageous. I just hate everybody. I absolutely hate everybody. I'm so sick of everybody. Thank God the market's closed. 26.54. What a butt plug. Oh, it's up 2 cents though. I don't know. It's great. I mean, it's coming off of, $5, $7. Awesome. I mean, it's in this little channel. It's not anything for me to be upset about. I'm just like, the price fixing, it gets old because the stock, there's really no sellers, I don't think, of this stock under 30 right now that aren't mechanics, that aren't sort of short-term, market maker, mechanic, hack, quarter office, tiny wing, cocaine blues, swing turders, if you know what I mean. Tiny wing, big bankroll situation. I have no idea what I'm talking about, guys. Oh, Bitminer. Okay, guys, this is, and I know I said I bought a little bit of Bitminer. I actually sold it at like 57. I'll buy some more. It's intriguing, but like a few. I advise you guys, don't get into open. Everybody was telling you jump into open at 10. All these, like, no offense, but Canadians and everybody else was telling you buy Bitminer anywhere under 60. And I just don't chase that stuff unless there's a fundamental business underneath that I can understand. Okay? I can't understand Bitminer's fundamental, and I've read about it, and I'm not stupid, and I studied economics. I'm not as dumb as I look. So I do actually understand it a little bit more than I might let on. I actually invest a tremendous amount of money for the living. So it's, very, smart, rich people trust me with their money. So I'm not an idiot. But these crypto treasury, and people saying, okay, they're going to use algorithms, they're going to use a unique mining, they're going to be more efficient, they're going to have, better cooling. The guy Tom Lee knows how to do that. You hire Bruce Lee. I mean, I don't know, from the fund strat, whatever. What the hell does this guy know about all this stuff? What, are they going to hire some nerds? I mean, why don't they get, see if they can get a pardon for SBF and sign him? Guys, I'm not saying it's a scam. Okay, I'm not saying crypto's a scam. I'm not saying Bitminer's a scam. All I'm saying is the price action scares me because I don't really see the value of the company tied to anything fundamental now. Now, maybe in the future, Ethereum use cases will all pan out and there'll be all these things, that it's used for. And the people are like, oh, that guy Lee's like, oh, Ethereum's going to go to 50,000. It's going to flip. The market's going to flip. And, Ethereum's going to become the premium crypto and Bitcoin will be secondary to Ethereum. I mean, nothing self-interested, right, about saying that. I don't hear other people saying that. But this is kind of an interesting case study in how the market can just make a narrative, do it, and then Ethereum crashed back, Bitminer crashed. I think it was back under 50. So all those people that were telling you buy Bitminer anytime it dips under 60, you would have just lost 20% of your money or whatever. And I mean, that's not to say you can't hold and it might go back up in the future. I'm not saying that. It's not nothing against those people. But I'm just saying, why are they telling you to buy this at 60? Because everybody else is talking about it or what? I wouldn't buy it. I wouldn't buy it here because I think the economy, corporate profits are one thing. The real economy on Main Street is a different thing. And I think everybody's just kind of whistling past the graveyard and not seeing how huge problems the lower middle class is going to be in, middle class, with their mortgages, with their car loans, with their credit cards, with their everything. Everything is squeezing these people. Real wages are going nowhere. Inflation is up. Mortgages, through the roof, obviously, from where they were just a few years ago. I mean, the rate is nothing like it was in the 70s or anything. I mean, honestly, 6 is not that crazy when you think about it, but I like 2.5 a lot better. You know what I mean? Know what I mean? Yeah, Neo. Let's talk a little Neo. Why not? I've heard enough of myself. Guys, let me get a little bit of sippy sip. Okay. Sorry about that. Let's see what Neo did today. So $6.74. Let's take a look at the little weekly here. So yeah, dip back down. And they've just been doing this little shuffle with Neo where they pop it down in Hong Kong and they play all kinds of games with it. Just, I mean, I guarantee that I don't guarantee, but usually when they push down on Neo like this, um, they're talking accumulation. Yeah, Bitcoin was down 1.7%, Ethereum down just a little bit. So Bitcoin 106. Let me see what the hell Neo is doing today. Sorry, guys. I've been busy. I have such a crazy time with taxes. It's just been a complete shit show. This is kind of like where I wish I was Anthony Noto, not just because I would be, wealthy and good looking and CEO of a major corporation, but just because I'd be organized, have my shit together. I know my numbers. You guys remember Deborah Meaden on the UK Shark Tank? She's like, you don't even know your figures. You disgust me. Get out of my sight, you tiny dick wimp. You don't know your figures. And then Peter be like, well, I really like the idea, but I'll only give you half the money. Peter made an interesting announcement, but he's like 6'8", so we'll see if his midget friend, Theo Prophetus, will be in. I quite like the idea of Peter giving you half the money. I'd also give you half the money. Duncan Bannatyne, I hate you, I'm out. Deborah Meaden, I'm back in. I'll give you a better deal. It's like often, if like the guys would offer something, she'd come back and just shoot over their head a little bit. Little Price is Right action. Little the old slam dunk, check the oil. Little the old dirty dish rag. 6 minutes after midnight, if you know what I mean. I think you do. Oh, little the old wedding reception tube sock deal. I haven't really, guys, I've slept even less than usual. I feel like I haven't slept in like 6 months, but I really haven't slept in like 6 weeks. I don't know how my brain is functioning at all, quite frankly. Perhaps it's not. Perhaps I'm Keanu Reeves and this is all an algorithm. My head is plugged into a big Tandy computer that I purchased at Radio Shack when I was 6. Oh, thanks, Emilio. Really appreciate it. Yeah, that lawsuit thing, man. What a bunch of crap. I mean, GIC, okay, this was over 3-year-old this was over that whole thing with Miratery about if you guys remember this, if you've been in the stock as long as I have, it was revenue recognition, how they went back and forth between the battery company, which is a joint venture of NEO and CATL and some Guangdong Province Science Technology Fund 3, whatever the fuck. I can't remember, but I don't mean to be flip, but I just can't remember all the names of the Chinese government things that loan them money. Anyway, they own part of it. So Neo hired all these law firms and accounting firms, and they examined this related. Everybody said this is a very normal relationship when you have one manufacturer and then they have sort of like an asset manager operations. Like if you maybe sell air conditioners and then you have another company that does the service, or you whatever it is, just people have subsidiaries, people have affiliated companies, and at least from everything these people concluded, and this was again, it was a short report by Grizzly Research. And again, these things don't have to be true to have their intended, effect or consequence. It's just to temporarily drive down the stock price so shorts can make a bunch of money. And it happens quickly. They're not looking to short the stock for 3 years. Are you kidding me? I mean, they're hopefully for them, they shorted it until it got down to like 3 or whatever, but they're looking to make quick hits. Remember, on the SMCI thing, the short who actually wrote the short report, they covered at the bottom right then. They didn't wait for the stock to go down to 2 or to go bankrupt. They were fine with 50 to 18 or 50 to 20. You make plenty of money that way. Don't be a greedy bastard. All the other sharks are out, but I'm only prepared to give you half the money. Oh, yeah, he would do that too. He'd get off from half the money when he knew no one else was going to come in. And the way he would say half, it's just so condescending. I'm a giant, and I have unlimited money, and you only need 50 grand, but 50 quid, 50 whatever. I'm only going to offer you half the money, and I'm going to clear my throat as I say half, just to humiliate you further. You're standing there, your sphincters tight as a drum, your bladder is full as a well-done haggis, just ready to burst. Double wide, incredibly great question. That is honestly probably the most critical question there is. And my answer to you, good sir, is a lot of people didn't know if NIO was going to make it until pretty recently, I think. Now I think people are fairly confident. And it's a tremendous amount of cost and engineering to get your skateboard down where it's going to boogie with NIO, where it's going to boogie with BASS, where it's going to play nice and dance and waltz and nobody's stepping on each other's toes. You got to have those bolt holes in just the right place. You got to have the connectors. You got to have the standards. So it's a hell of a commitment, I think, to put that into your product line. I also think there's a lot of shenanigans going on with the Choco My Chicken CATL, trying to basically scoop, usurp, forsake, desecrate NIO and us shareholders. And then they're talking about, nobody cares about these U.S. shareholders, believe me. They're going to dilute us. They're going to kick us right in the nuts. It's going to happen again. Because I don't care if they make a tiny, net profit on a GAAP basis or even a non-GAAP basis. It doesn't mean they're going to be making any cash flow. They still got to pay for old Big Bill Lee's haircuts. Those ain't cheap. But yeah, they're not being released because they ain't there. I mean, because I think they balked at spending money on engineering and they just weren't there yet. And I think hopefully CATL is pushing them hard in that direction. And the Chinese government and various levels are pushing them hard in that direction, saying, hey, we subsidize all this crap. We spent the money, so you got to come through. I don't know. NIO is a tough nut because I believe in the future, but you're dependent. That's the problem, double wide. You're dependent on the partners. You don't control your own destiny. And the battery swap alliance looks to me a lot less of a sure thing with CATL having their own unique battery swap system. They say, oh, that's only going to be for taxis and trucks and different things. But you're already seeing they can build all kinds of cars on that platform. And isn't it going to be cheaper for other people to work with CATL and more advantageous than it is for them to work with NIO? So that, as I said before, that's starting to just scare the hell out of me, that whole deal. Because I don't think CATL cares about NIO shareholders. They just want the power business. Then they'll knife us and leave us for dead behind the bar. That's my opinion. Anyway, guys, I don't know what the hell this show was. It's Friday. That's all I could say. TGIF. Don't drink and drive. Buy Sofi. Un poco mas. Danny Deals. Not a lurker. Princess J. The Great QT. We're all here, guys. Have a great weekend. Thanks for watching. Appreciate you. Peace. I'm out. Poco mas. Y'all heard.